cookout, and you could just see the pain in Ken Nathanson's face as he, Al, you were there, and it was just painful for him to do this, and he was so worried about Sam. And here we are, you know, a decade later, and this little kid is now this bearded young man, and anyway, we'd like Sam to just say a few words and come up. So let me introduce Sam Nathanson.
Hey everyone, as you just heard, my name is Sam Nathanson. This is my 19th year coming to Frost Valley, because I've been coming here with my dad since I was about 2 months old. My dad, his name is Ken Nathanson. He was here in the late 60s and the 70s, if any of you guys know him. So basically, as I mentioned, I've been coming here since I was 2 months old, so this place is kind of like a second home to me. I remember, I have a picture that my mom has in our living room of me in a stroller being pushed around the lake. And this place has really been that place. I know every time when we would come here on vacation every spring and every winter, I would be so excited. This was my Disney World. All the kids are like, oh yeah, I'm going to Disney World this spring break, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to Frost Valley, and I was really excited. And I remember in 2nd grade, I even wrote a report on Frost Valley, and I had a picture of me tubing down the hill right in front of the dining hall when that was still open. And just all the memories I had here when I was really young with my family, really just meant the world to me. And then when I was about 11 years old, I started coming here to sleepaway camp, and I started in the Forest Village. And I remember I was extremely shy and extremely homesick. And I do remember the day that my dad dropped me off, and we were at Jerry's house, and just everyone was hanging out. And I remember being extremely scared, and I had no idea what to expect. And I just didn't know if I could even be away from home, even though I've been here all my life. I've been here for 10 years already, coming with my family every year. But I came here as a camper. I remember the first day I got a letter from my dad, or he sent one from the Never Synced mail post office, and I got it, and I started crying hysterically, and my counselor looked at me, and I remember seeing the face of oh, he's crying already. So I remember that, and I was extremely homesick, and I was extremely shy, and I was a very introverted kid. And I remember about a week in, I got my VC, who was Dan McCormick at the time, if any of you guys know him. He comes up to me and was talking to me, and he said something that's resonated with me up until now. And he told me that even though you're really sad and you miss home, the best way to show your parents that you miss them is for you to have fun, because they sent you here to have fun. And that's something I tell all my campers all the time when I see them homesick, because it's something that at that point when I heard that, I went from being really sad and homesick to being a camper who was excited about camp. And I remember having so much fun that 2nd week of camp after he talked to me. And at that point, I knew this one day I wanted to be a counselor. Already, my first summer, I knew I wanted to be a counselor one day. So for my first 2 years, I came one session, and then I remember my Hemlock summer, which was when I was 13, I came for a 2nd session, and I first experienced the Olympics at camp. For any of you who don't know, Olympics is when camp is split up into 8 countries, or usually 8 countries represented by staff members who come from all around the world. And we do cheers, we do activities, and the ultimate goal is to win the Spirit Award. And everyone for those 2 days goes crazy, and they just really want to win Spirit. So you see people painting their faces, you see people running around with pots and pans, hitting them, playing with horns, everything you could possibly think of. Camp is absolutely insane. And at that point, I remember looking around and just thinking one day I want to be an Olympic coach. And last summer I was a coach of Wales country, I remember me and then the other coach with me. We turned Wales, the country, into a whole campaign to save the whales. So basically, we're running around yelling "Can I get a save the whales?" And all the kids are screaming "Save the whales!" And the kids were in this movement to save the whales, and while all the other countries were looking at us what are you guys doing? And it was just one of those things where it's I remember as that camper, I've always wanted to do that, and I had the opportunity to do it with the kids, and I all last summer after Olympics for the next few sessions, all the kids kept coming up to me "Save the whales, can you say it, save the whales?" And all the kids it was just an amazing experience. And then I just noticed though, as time went on, as I was a camper, I became positively influenced by everything that was happening here. I knew my counselors that I had. Lee was a counselor in one of my villages back there when I was an outpost. I was talking to him earlier today. But as I noticed I was my counselors were my positive role models, and I felt myself becoming less shy and more confident and more outgoing as the years went on. And it was just one of those things where it's like every year I came back, I was like a different person, and in my eyes a better person because of this place. And then I went on to be a CIT in the summer of 2010, and while I went on a hike for 7 days in the woods and did an in-cabin in a cabin, which was like one of the coolest experiences I ever had, like I learned to be a leader, and I learned that being a counselor was something I like really wanted to do. And I used the experiences that I got there to do stuff like I was the editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper, and I was the captain of my high school lacrosse team, among many other things. And I feel like the reason I was able to do that stuff was based on the leadership experience that I got at Frost Valley during my CIT summer and my like junior counselor summer, which I had the year after. So in 2011, I became a counselor for the first time, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done because as a camper, like I noticed everything was about having fun, but as a counselor, I realized like you got to have fun, but like the best part about the job was impacting the lives of your campers. Like I come here, like the reason I work here instead of going other things like this year, like I could have been doing research for my engineering career that I hope to be doing very soon, and I could have been like doing internships, research, all that stuff, but I'm like here because like there's nothing like working here. There's nothing like impacting the lives of these children. Like it's one of my favorite things to do in the world. Like it means the world to me. And like for example, my first cabin ever, there was a camper, his name was Cameron, and I remember he was extremely sad and extremely homesick. And like every day, like he would just cry in his bed and just be extremely sad. And then like me and my co-counselor would always like talk to him and just try to cheer him up. And then one day, about a week and a half into the session, like we just saw his attitude completely change. And like he was like the happiest kid I've ever seen. And like it was just one of those moments where like it meant the world to me. Like it was just like I looked at this kid who was sad, and he was kind of like me when I was a camper for my first year. And then I saw him turn around and become like a really happy kid. And I remember the last day, I'll never forget this, he came up to me when he was leaving, and like, he came up to me and gave me the biggest hug in the world. He's like, I'm gonna miss you so much, Sam. And then he gave me a hug, and his mom took a picture of us. And then the next year he came back, and he was a camper in Hemlock, or actually he was a camper in Outpost again. And he came back to me and was like, hey Sam, do you remember me? I'm like, hey Cameron, what's up? And like, we had that interaction, which is like something you could only have with a bond by like changing a kid's life. And like, I saw like a change in him, like a tangible change, and like when that happened, I knew like this was something I wanted to keep doing. And for the past 3 summers, including that summer, I've been a counselor here, and like time after time, like I've seen like the kids' lives change, and I've seen my impact on these kids like actually like do something. And it's like one of those things where it's like you can never like match that experience with anything else in the world. And like I hope to keep coming back here as much as possible, like as many years as I possibly can before I have to like start going into the engineering field, just until like, cause it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, there's nothing like it. Like I look forward, like as soon as I leave, like I start thinking, when am I gonna go back to Frost Valley? When am I gonna go back to be a counselor? And like the whole time, like the last like few like months of like school after the past year, like all I could think about was like, when am I going back? And like I was talking to one of my friends here, and he said he came here on a school group, and he's like, so you work at Frost Valley? And like, it was a kid who like I met for the first time this past year, and he was like, we even made that connection over Frost Valley, like over this place that's so magical that can change so many people's lives. Like we made that connection, and he never even came to camp with me, and like the power of this place is unmatched by anywhere else I've ever been. Like I've been to other camps, and like my first few summers, like I went to a lacrosse camp, I went to like day camps when I was younger, stuff like that. But like once I came here after like my first year, like there's nothing I could do but come back here, because like I cannot imagine a world without Frost Valley. Like I know, like just like my dad did, when I get older, I'm gonna take my kids here. Like hopefully even when they're younger than 2 months old, I'll have pictures of them going around the lake and all that kind of stuff. And like it's one of those things where it's like this place stays with your family, and it stays with you for your whole life. And like I am the person I am today because of Frost Valley. Like it made me who I am. It made me the leader I am today. Like I've done so many things with the skills that I've learned at Frost Valley. And like I would be a totally different kid. I might be like a shy, introverted kid, but now I'm this like goofy counselor who does like really cool things. Like for example, this past like session before this, we did a theme day. It was called Beyond a Lot Day, which was like me and another counselor like spent the whole summer working on this. And we were like, this is very far-fetched. Like we turned like this whole Camelot idea where we wanted to like turn camp into Camelot for our kids. And then we ended up getting Dan Weir involved. He was a wizard for a day. He came to our overnight dressed in like a blue robe and a beard and like a wig, and was like told them a whole story about the Holy Grail before they went to go find it in like the depths of the castle. And then Jeff Daly was the evil king. Like when he appeared, like it was like amazing, and like it felt like Disney World. And it was like I felt the magic at camp during those 2 days. and like it was one of the best days. Like my kids loved it, and like they kept talking about it the whole session. They were trying to figure out who the evil king was. They were trying to figure out who the wizard was. Like they were going up to the different people, like, who was the wizard? Was it you? Was it you? And like stuff like that, where it's like it's the magic of camp. Like you cannot match this anywhere else. So really, what I want to conclude with is like Frost Valley is like my second home. Like even though like I live in central New Jersey, like I feel like this place is just as much my home as my home at home. So thank you guys.